Welcome back to Pleasure in the Pause, a podcast dedicated to empowering midlife women to connect to their bodies, pleasure, and power in perimenopause, menopause, and beyond. I am your host, Gabriella Espinosa, women's health and sexual wellness coach, and it is my pleasure to be here with you. Today is a really special episode because we are celebrating one whole year of this podcast. That's right, 54 episodes. 54 deep dives into what it means to be a woman in midlife, to empower yourself with knowledge, to own your pleasure again and reconnect to your body and come home to yourself. When I started this show, I wanted to create a space that felt like a deep exhale, a place where we could slow down, be honest, and explore the parts of ourselves that have so often been overlooked, especially during the transition into menopause and beyond. What I've learned over this past year is that pleasure doesn't always come in big, dramatic waves. Sometimes it's found in the smallest, quietest moments. A deep breath, a stretch, a flicker of sensation that reminds you, I'm still here. My body still matters. My pleasure matters. So starting this season, Pleasure in the Pause is evolving. We're shifting into a more intimate solo format so I can share more of my personal insights, mini teachings, and bite-sized pleasure snacks with you. Little practices and tools you can weave into your everyday life. My hope is that these moments become small rituals for you, a weekly check-in with your body, your breath, and your heart's deepest desires. And what better way to begin this new chapter than with the 5 pleasure principles that have changed my life and the lives of hundreds of women I've worked with. So let's get into it. Let's be honest. When it comes to pleasure, most of us were never taught how to prioritize it. We were taught how to please others, how to show up for our families, our careers, our partners, our communities. And we're pretty good at it. We are the caretakers, the space holders, the emotional anchors. But somewhere along the way, we were taught that our pleasure is optional or selfish or worse, shameful. I used to believe that too. Then perimenopause arrived, uninvited, unapologetic. My desires shifted. My mood dropped. I felt like a stranger in my own body and in the bedroom. I felt totally in the dark, physically, emotionally, sexually. I didn't know who to talk to about the changes I was experiencing. I didn't have the language to express it. And for a long time, I felt shame. I wondered, is something wrong with me? Am I broken? Is this what getting old is supposed to feel like? If this sounds familiar, you are not alone. Between 68 to 70% of women entering perimenopause report not feeling like themselves. They report changes to their libido as they move from perimenopause to menopause. But here's what I've learned after 15 years of traveling around the world, researching and learning from top experts in the field of pleasure, sexuality, and menopause. Midlife can be a new chapter in our sexual lives. It's not the end. It's a beginning, a time to awaken newfound pleasure and feel more confident in our own skin. So if you've been feeling disconnected from your body, your inner spark, your sensuality, please know this. Your pleasure has no expiration date. It just needs an invitation. So consider this yours. So let's talk pleasure principles. These are 5 key pillars guiding insights, practices, and values that I believe every midlife woman deserves to know and embody. They're not rules. They're not rigid. They're more like compass points, gentle reminders that pleasure is not just possible in midlife, it's essential. These principles have shaped the way I live, love, relate to my body, and show up in the world. And I offer them to you as invitations. Take what resonates, try them on, and make them your own. So let's start with pleasure principle number 1. Pleasure is not a reward. It's essential nutrition. As Dr. Aviva Ram reminded us in episode 45, consider it your daily dose of vitamin P. Your nervous system, hormones, and emotional well-being all benefit from regular doses of pleasure, not just once a month, not only on vacations or date nights, daily. Pleasure calms your stress response. It boosts oxytocin. It helps you sleep better, digest better, feel more connected, grounded, and alive. This isn't just about sexual pleasure. It's about your vitality and well-being. Because at its core, pleasure is about connection to yourself, being in tune with your body, your emotions, and your desires, connection to life, finding joy in the little things like movement, nature, music, or a beautiful meal, and connection to others, deepening intimacy, communication, and shared experiences. But it all begins with you and getting to know yourself first. So that takes us to pleasure principle number 2. Start with curiosity, not criticism. Midlife brings change, physically, emotionally, sexually. And one of the biggest blocks to pleasure is how we judge those changes. So this second principle is a radical one. Start with curiosity, not criticism. When your body feels unfamiliar, softer, drier, slower, instead of asking, what's wrong with me? Ask, what's changing? What do I need? What could feel good right now in this moment? Here's the truth. Most of us were never taught the basics of our own bodies. We weren't given accurate sexual education, especially not about female pleasure. That's why one of the most powerful things you can do in midlife is begin to explore your own sexual anatomy. Understand how your vulva, clitoris, cervix, and pelvic floor work now, not how they were 10 or 20 years ago. As holistic sexuality educator, Sherry Winston encouraged us in episode number 5, use a mirror to identify and explore all your parts. Use your hands, your breath, and curiosity. There's no right or wrong, just information, just connection. And care for your vulva, just like you would a garden. Urologist Dr. Maria Uloco in episode 42 reminded us that with proper care and nourishment, our vulvas can thrive well into our golden years. This isn't just about aesthetics. It's about maintaining the complex ecosystem that supports your sexual health. It's about remembering what's always been there, your unique physiology and innate capacity for pleasure. One of my clients recently told me, I realized I was waiting for someone else to give me permission to explore my own body. But that permission had to come from me. You have full permission right now and always. Now, here's where things get delicious with pleasure principle number 3. Practice pleasure snacks daily. These are beautiful, bite-sized invitations to feel good in your body, in the here and now. They don't require hours of free time or elaborate rituals. They are tiny ways to reconnect with sensation and joy throughout your day. Pleasure lives in the everyday, and when we treat it like a nutrient, like vitamin P, we realize it impacts everything: our stress levels, our hormones, our relationships, even how we enjoy food and movement. So let's try a pleasure snack together right now. Take a deep breath in And a nice exhale out. And then bring your hands together. Rub the palms of your hands briskly until you feel heat, energy, and then bring your hands and gently hover the palms of your hands over your body, starting with your face, mouth, neck, chest, belly. Do you feel the warmth, the heat, the aliveness, the energy that you've created with your own hands? That's a pleasure snack, a pause, a moment for reconnection to tune in to the innate pleasure that you have at the tips of your fingers. A pleasure snack could also be dancing to your favorite song while you're brushing your teeth or doing the dishes, drinking your morning cup of coffee slowly, feeling the warmth of the cup between your hands, putting on soft clothing and luxuriating in the texture, letting the sun caress your skin for 30 seconds, moaning out loud. Yes, as you stretch. Yes, moaning counts. These tiny acts are revolutionary because they tell your nervous system it's safe to feel good. One client told me after a session, I haven't felt that kind of aliveness in my own body for years, and it was just in my own hands. Yes, this is how we build capacity. This is how we remember that we are wired for pleasure, and it's available at the tips of our fingers. That takes us on to pleasure principle number 4, communication. This is a big one. Communication as a pleasure practice. Midlife often brings shifts in what we want, sexually, emotionally, physically, spiritually. But if we don't share those desires, we stay stuck in old patterns. The problem? Most of us were never taught how to talk about our desires, how to talk about our own pleasure. But the way forward isn't confrontation, it's invitation. So you might say to a partner, I'm learning some new things about what turns me on. Can I share them with you? Or I'd love to explore something I'm learning together. Can we invite curiosity into our intimacy? Or what about my body is different now and I want to honor what it's asking for? Can we take things more slowly? This kind of communication isn't about a performance review. It's about co-creating connection, whether with a partner, a friend, or with yourself. My client, Pamela, who's been with her husband for over 30 years, recently told me, I felt like we were speaking different languages after menopause. But once I started sharing not just what I wanted, but what I was discovering about myself, it brought us closer than we've been in years. This isn't about having all the answers. It's about being real, being vulnerable, willing to share ourselves, willing to be witnessed in our own truth. And by the way, communication also means being honest with yourself, reflecting, journaling, asking, what do I need today? What would feel good right now? What does pleasure mean to me? That's where it begins. Last but not least, pleasure principle number 5, my favorite one, how to feel fully turned on. A turned on life isn't about sexy lingerie or peak orgasmic experiences, although those are very nice to have. But it's also about living in alignment with our desires, our lived experience or wisdom, and our bodies. and acknowledging that midlife doesn't mean the end to your pleasure, to your sexuality, or your desires. It's the chapter in our lives where we get to define and own these parts of ourselves. It's about living in alignment, feeling lit up from within, saying yes to what fuels your joy, your vitality, your creativity, and your truth. You are not here to perform. You are here to feel alive in this one precious life. This could look like saying no to things that drain your energy, starting a new hobby or picking up one after 20 years, walking barefoot on the grass, lingering at the sight of the sun setting, touching your own body with reverence and curiosity. One of my clients, Elena, rediscovered her sensuality through art. She said, when I'm painting, it's like my whole body is saying yes to life again. It's sensual, it's alive, it's turned on, just not in the way I thought it would be. That, my friend, is the new definition of a turned on woman. She's awake to her own energy. She's in conversation with her body. She's not chasing, she's receiving. So let's recap these 5 pleasure principles for midlife. 1, pleasure is essential nutrition, your daily dose of vitamin P. 2, start with curiosity, not criticism. 3, practice pleasure snacks daily. 4, communicate with yourself and others. And 5, a turned on life is about alignment, not performance. This next season of your life and this next season of this podcast is an invitation to explore, to soften, to come home to yourself. Your pleasure is not optional. It is your birthright. Thank you so much for being with me for 1 year of pleasure in the pause. If this episode or any of the other 53 episodes resonated with you, please make sure to like, subscribe, and share it with a friend. It helps the podcast grow and get into the hands and hearts of more women. It helps spread more pleasure in the world. And let's be honest, the world could use a little bit more of that, right? And if you're craving more guided support, I'd love to welcome you inside the Midlife Pleasure Collective, a sacred space for midlife women to explore embodied pleasure through powerful mind-body practices, my coaching, and a like-minded community where you are fully seen and witnessed in your pleasure, in your aliveness, in your wholeness. The link is in the show notes below. I'd love to see you there. Until next time, remember, your pleasure matters.